excited for our next guest because he's better looking than me. He's more intelligent than me. He gives better insight than me. He was a better BYU football player than me, makes more money than me, and Greg likes him more than me. It's our sideline reporter, Mitch Juergens. Single tear coming down my cheek as I talk to Mitch. Mitch, how are you, brother?
I'm good. That intro, I don't know how accurate that is.
Oh, across the board, it's accurate. You know it. You know it across the board, especially Greg liking you way more than he likes me. But just had Greg on. We just had a blast kind of going back and forth on this BYU Texas Tech. I'm calling it a rematch. Some call it a Big 12 championship game. I don't care what label you put on it. To me, Mitch, this is a rematch. And when you think about what happened on the field from game one, what do you see BYU needing to do to get the win in game two?
Oh, there's a lot. I could probably take this in a lot of different directions, but I'll try and kind of condense my thoughts here. Number one, and it's probably the obvious answer, you have to control the football. Don't turn it over. You got to win that turnover battle. I mean, when you go look back at last week or, last time BYU played Texas Tech, 3 turnovers to 0 takeaways. You're not winning that game. You're not staying in that ball game, regardless of how well the team played outside of those turnovers. That's just when you play a team as good as Texas Tech, it's going to come down to, in a lot of instances, around that turnover margin. And if BYU can improve there, protect the football, and then if the defense can generate some takeaways, which is hard to do against Texas Tech. Baron Morton he's protected the football really well. Just 4 picks this season. And they've thrown the ball, really well across the board. He's averaging just under 300 yards a game. And so to do that with just 4 picks, it's going to be challenging, but this defense has proven to rise up. And I think that's going to be one of the big things there. Outside of that, offensively, you've got to mix it up. I felt like, the last time that they played, I think BYU was just too predictable and too conservative. And I personally just want to see Bear Bachmeier get loose and them to say, you know what, we're going to throw the rock. We're going to come out fast. We're going to, I'd even love to see it when the offense takes the field for the first time, go 2-minute offense, go fast, just mix it up and really just declare to Texas Tech, hey, we're here to make an impact. We're here to do some unique things offensively and just to keep that defense on their toes, because this is the best defense potentially in the entire nation. And so I want to just see some mix-ups there. Don't be too predictable, not too conservative. If you're going to win it, go win it. Don't try and just win it by hoping that they make some mistakes. So, those are kind of the 2 things that I'd say, learning from that first matchup, what I want to see in this next one.
So, very interesting and different finishes to the season for Texas Tech and BYU. BYU has at Cincinnati, and then they finish with UCF. It's hard fought. And then after you finish with UCF, you get into this coaching contract, and Kalani Sitake sit down. With Texas Tech, you have a bye week. And then you've got West Virginia, which was done within 2 quarters. That game was over, and most of their starters were sitting. So you've got a bye week. You had a very easy West Virginia game, and Texas Tech. There wasn't as much speculation with Joey McGuire leaving. It was always assumed that he was going to stay, but he also got an extension yesterday. So much different kind of worlds that Texas Tech and BYU have been living in for the last 3 weeks. What do you think is more beneficial, and do you feel like maybe the way Texas Tech finished this season could be a distraction? Maybe they're getting too confident, or do you think that it was good for them to have all this time off?
Yeah, you think just naturally that these bye weeks are super helpful, and I'd love to run the data on this. I'm sure Greg, if we put Greg up to the task, he could give you some crazy stat about it, like teams coming off a bye week, what the record is. Because naturally you think that the rest is going to help. You get guys healthy, and then you come out and and you're ready to go. But to be honest, I don't know if that's always the case, because sometimes you want to get in that groove. You want to feel like, hey, we've done this now 2 weeks in a row. We've fought, we've battled. And assuming you don't have a ton of injuries where you need guys to specifically rest to recover, and then get to full health, it might even be better to just have this momentum of playing week after week. You're in a rhythm, you're in a good cadence, and so that potentially could play in BYU's favor there. As far as the coaching situation, I saw the live video of Kalani announcing that at practice that he was coming back, and you saw just how excited and just happy that the team was for Kalani to stick around. And I think that can add some motivation. Like, look, we just, we got our guy paid. We got our guy back for multiple years. Let's go prove to everybody and go finish this off the right way and show everyone that this was the right decision. And, I think, if I was in that locker room and I was a player, I'd be wanting to do even more this next game, to be more buttoned up, to be more dialed and ready to go, because Kalani's our guy. Kalani's my guy, and I think they all want to prove that.
Man, that's the truth, isn't it? Kalani is a leader of men. Everybody feels like he's their best friend. Everybody feels like they can rely on him. And I saw all those motivational videos. And I got to imagine, Mitch, your time with Bronco Mendenhall was probably pretty incredible. And I'm sure you had a lot of great memories with him. But just seeing him being taken care of, seeing his emotions. I know I always kind of followed Lavelle Edwards' emotions. I was always very connected to what he was thinking and what he was doing. I got to imagine you were the same with Bronco, and I got to imagine this crew's the same with Kalani, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was in an interesting situation, or a different situation when Bronco was coach. So in 2015, Broncos last season, that was my junior year. So we actually got the news prior to the Vegas Bowl against Utah that Bronco was leaving and that he was taking the head coach job at Virginia. And even with him leaving, like, we felt this sense of pride to make sure that Bronco went out the right way. And that was with him not even coming back. And you develop these amazing relationships with your coaches, but specifically the head coach. I mean, they gamble a lot on you, and they put a lot of investment and time into you as an individual, and you spend so much time in that locker room and so much time on the football field going through really tough, difficult situations that just makes the man that you become, the individual that you become, the hardships that you face and how you overcome those, whether it's injury, whether it's worrying that you have a spot on the roster or on the depth chart. It's a constant battle, and so to go through that with leaders like Bronco Mendenhall and Kalani Sitake, I think it strengthens that relationship, and so you want to do anything and everything that you possibly can to help those guys, succeed. And just what a cool moment for BYU to see Kalani's impact, to get him to come back, and the energy and the juice that these players have, just knowing that it would have been cool. I'm sure a lot of them would have been happy for Kalani had he left, because of the impact that he made on them as individuals. But how much cooler it is that he's going to just continue to ride it out with those guys in the locker room.
So, Mitch, we talk about this being a rematch, and I on my boards I keep notes of each win, how the win went down. With the Texas Tech game, I've got 29-7. I've got turnover margin was big, -3, and then I've got dropped passes were big. And I'm telling you, the JoJo Phillips drop is emblazoned into my mind. I think that was his first game back after missing the beginning part of the season. And that drop was so brutal. It was so painful. And it wasn't just him. I feel like every receiver that was targeted had at least one pretty blatant drop in that game. When you think of an opportunity to rematch and you think about your game against Texas Tech, how focused are these receivers on, by the way, no false starts, please, because I think that there were either one or two false starts by receivers against Texas Tech, if I remember right, Mitch. No false
Yeah.
starts, making sure if it hits your hands that you're able to come down with it. How laser focused do you think this group is to redeem themselves?
I mean, they're going to have to be, and I know for sure they are. I know Fessy. He's going to be preaching the exact same thing. Like this is a game, and not just the opponent of Texas Tech. Like they're a good football team, but then you add on this is the Big 12 championship. Texas Tech is going to come ready to play. They're going to come ready to prove to the nation like, hey, we beat them once, we're going to beat them again. This is their first time in the Big 12 championship, and so they've got a lot to prove and a lot that they want out of this game, and so you have to expect that they're going to come ready to play. They're going to come dialed, and so if I'm speaking to that receiver group, it's like, look, like if there's a time to step up and make the unexpected play, now is that time, because we saw what happened last time we played them when we didn't. Texas Tech is too good of a team to just be a little bit careless or not completely bought in to step up to the challenge. Because I want those receivers. It's not like, hey, this ball is coming, let me drift away from it. I want them like coming downhill back to the quarterback hard and doing things that a little bit more aggressively to put themselves in situations to succeed. Because I think maybe that wasn't happening the last time against Texas Tech, or they're being a little bit too passive, or they, I'll catch this, but if they make a play, then okay, maybe it's not completely my fault. Like, no, they need to go take control of the opportunity, every single one that they have, and it is a must. They have to catch the football. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But I do like the fact that Chase is back, Parker's in a groove. JoJo has gotten some game experience. He's even had, the last game, he had a really good toe drag catch on the sideline, and so he's doing it. He can be that guy, but it's going to be all mental, all attitude, and if those guys want it, we'll be able to tell pretty quickly on the field with how they play and how aggressively they come back to the football and how aggressively they fight for it when it's in the air. We'll be able to see that fight and if they've really have come to play.
Mitch, there's an outlier here with Bear Bachmeier, and I'm going to kind of give you the numbers on this, but I'm throwing the UCF game out because I happen to know what they were trying to do with Bear Bachmeier in that UCF game as far as his rushing. They kept him under 10 carries, and obviously his yardage was really low. So I'm going to leave the UCF game out. But these are his numbers going back to the Colorado game. 98 yards rushing, 43, 89 yards rushing, 64, 49 yards rushing, 12, 59 yards rushing, 46 yards rushing, touchdown, 2 touchdowns, touchdown, 0 touchdown, 1 and 1. So 12 yards, 0 touchdowns against Texas Tech. When you look at his other numbers, you can see this offense really needs him to rush in order to function. So you talked about what you want to do schematically against Texas Tech. How important is it for Bear Bachmeier to be involved in the run game? And is there any correlation to his rushing yards and what the potential outcome is of this Texas Tech game?
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a really good point, and I think to answer your question, absolutely. He has to be able to move the football. I mean, when you look at Texas Tech on the stat sheet, they're number 1 in the country in rush yards allowed at 68.9 rush yards. That's absurd. Teams are not getting in a good momentum on the ground. They're completely controlling the game at the line of scrimmage, and these offenses can't get going. If Bear can get going, if he can put up, on average, he's right in that 40 to 45 yard range. If he can get there, well, that becomes a guy that you have to account for. And then with the heater that LJ's on right now, I mean, he looks better than he's looked all season. That's going to open up that run game for LJ Martin. If both of those guys can get going, and if the defense has to account for Bear. And so, if we can see Bear in the 35 plus 40 yard range, I have confidence that if that's the case, then LJ Martin should be, 60, 70 plus. And now you're putting up over 100 yards on the ground. against a Texas Tech team that doesn't allow more than 70. And then that should open up the pass lanes and should, get Texas Tech to really feel like if they want to stop that duo, they're going to have to make some adjustments, which could open up some other opportunities on the field. So I think it's critical. And I think Bear, we're now at the Big 12 championship game. Not sure what the future has for the rest of the season. Hopefully it's a win and then they can get into the CFP. But you have to expect too that, Bear, if there's a game where Bear's going to lay his body out on the line, it's this one, a chance to bring home the trophy. So I expect it, and I think it needs to be there to just try and knock Texas Tech's defense back and give them something that really not many teams have been able to do all season.
I got to tell you, I went back and watched some of the film on it, and when Bear Bachmeier did take off against Texas Tech, he was so timid. You watch him take off against rival Utah, and it's a completely different beast. But I'm watching the film, and I'm like, wait, he's kind of tap-toeing. He's not going downhill. He's not getting aggressive. He's not forcing himself. And I don't know if that was part of the plan, but I'm with you. I think it's really critical for him to have his confidence. I do think taking this game out of Lubbock and putting it in a sold-out 92,000-seat stadium that's going to probably be 50-50, I would imagine maybe 40-60 BYU fans to Texas Tech fans. I just think we're going to see a different Bear Bachmeier. Mitch, thanks for everything. I will see you at the airport. I know you're headed out on Friday. We'll get ourselves into the stadium. You'll get down on the sidelines, and we'll be calling this game in just a few days. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, thanks, Hans. Appreciate it.
You bet. There you go, sideline broadcaster Mitch Juergens